What's up everyone? Welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, I'm Paris and I make videos all about candle making and the starting and managing of my small candle business, LadyCIMONNE Candle Co. If you're thinking about starting a business or you've already started a business and you're thinking about releasing a new product or service, doing a pre-sale may just be the move for you. And in today's video, I am going to give you some tips on how to have a successful pre-sale. So you all know the deal. I got my laptop here, my talking points, so let's just get started. But first, let's talk about what a pre-sale actually is. A pre-sale is the selling of your product or service without having created it yet. Kind of sweet, huh? The key here though is to be ethical in your setup. In other words, if you are unable to deliver your promise and ensure your product or service is out to your customers at the time that you stated, doing a pre-sale can actually have the reverse effect, and it can not only damage you, your brand, your mission, and your reputation without having a chance to even establish it yet, but it can also injure happy customers that could potentially be your free marketing in the long run. So for me, just to give you a little background story, because I've gotten this question several times, not only in the comment section of my YouTube videos, but also via social media, is what did I do? Because I did mention that I did a pre-sale as a way to launch LadyCIMONNE. The reason why is because I did not want to overly invest in product, inventory, things like shipping materials, and then the interest was not there. I'm not putting anything in the atmosphere saying, I would have flopped or anything, but with all that was going on with COVID-19, everyone's headspace was in a different place, right? I wasn't sure if anyone would necessarily be interested in buying candles or wax melts, and when they've had unfortunate losses in their families or job losses. And so I was able to kind of use my pre-sale as a testing ground, see what people thought of my scents. I made sure my product descriptions were as appealing as possible. You know how you're watching like the Food Network and they make that food sound amazing, and that's kind of what I make sure I tried to do when it came to my products and the descriptions of my products. I made sure I described the scents to a T and really ensure they knew the reason why I picked this scent and what this scent did to me. And I made sure my story was apparent and clear, and I made sure my brand was speaking clearly enough for people to understand where I was going to build enough loyal customer base in the initial soft launch. So let's talk about a few different advantages of doing a pre-sale. The biggest advantage, which is what I just mentioned, is you begin to gain a loyal customer base. These are like your initial crew, right? These are like your homies from the start. Like, these are the people that are like, I'm with you, girl. What you got? Let me see what's going on. I'm with you. I support you. I'll purchase from you. Like, these are the initial people that is going to be rocking with you from day one, because they want to see what you got. And what I love about this is, while that's occurring in the background, this gives you a chance to work out the kinks and make sure your website is up to par. And this gives you the opportunity to make sure your candles are solid, make sure you got all your testing notes and you know exactly what to do when it comes time to crank out those batches for those orders. Like, this really gives you a chance to, perfect your overall product. What I would suggest though, and this is something that I did implement, is making sure you give yourself enough lead time to then release the product, because that way you're not feeling so much pressure with making sure you get this product out on time. Making candles, may seem easy when you're making like 1, 2, or 5, but when you got like 30 to 40 orders to fulfill and they each maybe bought like 2 to 3 candles and a couple wax melts, That's a little different. When, you know, now you got to start thinking like a business owner, cranking out batches of candles of each scent that you may be offering. Now, number 2, which kind of leads into this, is the next big advantage is feedback. While you're building your customer base, when I began my pre-sale, the first several questions I was actually able to already get answers to was, how is my website? Is the flow okay? Did you find it user-friendly? You know, how did you find the flow? Were you able to locate my products, you know, okay? How did my brand speak to you? Did you understand my story? Should my layout be a little different? How was checkout? Was it smooth? Did you find it complicated? Did you, you know, do I have too many pop-ups at you? Is anything distracting? Anything like that, I was able to follow up with my initial customers before I shipped out their product. And then once they received the product, I did follow up again with my initial customers. I took this time and I said, hey, how did your product arrive? Did you find the shipping time okay? After you received the shipping email, how did you find the packaging when you opened it? What was your experience? Did you like the fragrance you received? Is it lighting okay? Is it burning okay? Do you find, you know, that the packaging was a little too overbearing, or was you not feeling my scent, or, you know, just whatever. I know that probably sounds real nitpicky, but this is your brand, boo. Like, this is you. You are the face of your brand. So if you can't accept constructive criticism from your initial customers who love and support you, who are probably 90% going to be your friends and family or their friends, you know, you have to be willing to kind of put a little bit of armor on and say, look, give it to me, and kind of weed out the criticism that is probably just criticism versus the ones who are like, look, girl, I love you. I think you should probably put this here, or your checkout was a little too much. Maybe you was having too many pop-ups. It could probably be distracting or annoying or whatever. Just anything. So finally, the third biggest advantage is finally getting the answer to, is this worth it? Yes, during a pre-sale, you have the right to ask this question to yourself. Was all of this worth the blood, sweat, and tears that I put into building my website, into creating the packaging experience, so when they open it, you know, they understand everything that I was trying to get them to understand, and all the things that I did to build up my Facebook page, and all anything that you did for your candle line. This is the opportunity now to say, is this worth it? Now that you have your business up and running, use this opportunity to locate any weak spots. Use this chance to see where you can cut costs. See, you know, if that vendor works for you. See if their shipping time works for you. This is all the opportunity to test those things out, because now you're not just ordering enough to make 5 or 6 candles to test or play with. Now you're ordering in bulk, which you should, because it's a lot cheaper. But now you're ordering in bulk to see if this really is, you know, worth the hassle, worth the money, worth the investment, you know, worth all the effort that you put into it. So be honest with yourself. Use this opportunity to really self-reflect after your pre-sale is over, and see how you feel afterwards. See if this is all making sense. Now let's talk about the biggest challenge that can occur though when you decide to do a pre-sale, and that is balancing time. And I say that because it's all going to boil down to, are you able to deliver when you said you would? While you should actually have more time to work out these issues, you also need to be open to the potential delays and quality issues that may pop up while you're trying to crank out these orders. So this was my opportunity to figure out any quality issues, and I did have a few, which kind of cut out some of that extra inventory that I was planning to have. So you want to make sure you have enough time to work through all of that. And so you want to choose a lead time that is going to be able to handle the, you know, potential quality pop-ups that you may have. Make sure you have and give yourself enough time to not only do the pre-sale, get the orders and all your deliveries in, but you also need to have enough time to crank out batches of candles to make sure everybody's order is fulfilled, and then get orders shipped out. So the bottom line that I want to talk about is setting up a pre-sale. It's not necessarily difficult. It's just all about marketing, getting your name out there, and delivering on your promise. How you market your product and how you choose to sell your product is completely up to you. Just ensure that your product and service is accessible and it's user-friendly. I'm going to give you a few steps that you should follow to set up your pre-sale to be successful. First, you want to create a campaign. You want to post your product. You want to market your pre-sale, and then release your product and do your follow-up. And that's exactly what I did, except for me, I not only followed up after people placed their order because I wanted to know the technical feedback, but I also followed up with my customers after they received their product. So now, before I close out this video, I want to talk about two other things that were a consistent question that I was getting. One, talking about curing time. And I know this could possibly be another video, and it probably will, but I thought I would slide this in here because I got the questions about, I want to do a pre-sale, but I feel like my candles will not have enough time to cure. Now, that was a really good question. And for me, my thought process was, I got to get these out to my customer. And so my candles may be cured for 3 to 4 days prior to ship out. I was fortunate to where my deliveries came, I mean, they were coming. They came, I ordered May 25th. They came by the end of the week. And I was able to immediately start cranking out my batches. I did batches of each scent, enough to fulfill my orders, and then a few extra for inventory. So I worked day and night on my lunch break, getting up at 4 or 5 a.m., cranking out as many as I can because I wanted them to have enough time to cure. They did not get the cure for weeks on end, and we all know as candle makers that our candles perform a lot better when they cure for, a few weeks. But I had to make sure I delivered on my promise. But again, this is a pre-sale. So these are your initial customers. This is basically your testing group. So now that your pre-sale is over and you have inventory, your inventory, will have a chance to sit, right? Because now you're ordering in bulk more consistently on you have a frequency of when you order, because now you're tracking, what's popular, how many of, what scents run out quicker than this, how many do you need to crank out to fulfill. Those are things you're going to start getting into as you begin operating your business. And so your candles will have time to set. Your wax melts will have time to rest. And then as orders come in, you'll be able to grab, pack, and ship. And that was basically my mindset. I wanted my candles time to sit. So I wanted to make sure I had enough, inventory that can have a good turnaround for when people place orders. But when you're doing a pre-sale, that's not something that you need to worry about right now. So right now, worrying about your candles sitting for 3 to 4 weeks at a time is not something that you should overly concern yourself. But if you want your candles to at least sit a week, you need to kind of implement that in your lead time prior to, whatever release date that you intend to set. Another thing that I did that did help me was tracking my pre-orders. I tracked my pre-orders by scent, so I would know how many of each scent I needed to initially crank out. So in my brain, I told myself, if I didn't have enough time to crank out orders and inventory, let me at least crank out my pre-orders. So I made a spreadsheet where I can track how many scents was being ordered. So every time somebody placed an order, let's say for example, Jane placed the order for 1 sea salt and orchid candle, 1 beautiful candle, 1 visionary candle, which is my lavender, and then a visionary wax melt. So I would put 1 under sea salt and orchid, 1 under the lavender, and then 1 under the lavender for wax melt. So I had a candle spreadsheet and a wax melt spreadsheet, and I would tally up and Excel would calculate it every time I added an extra cent to that column. So about time my pre-sale was over and I went to place orders for how many jars and lids and things that I needed, I was able to say, okay, I have about 92 candles to make, but I also want inventory. So I probably should order maybe like 130 jars, and so I need 130 lids, maybe 2 45-pound boxes of waxes and things like that. So I tracked my pre-orders. Even though my shop did it, my e-store did it in the back end, I needed a visual with how many actual scents I needed, and how many candles and wax melts I needed for each scent. So that really helped me too. So that's an idea. If you decide to do a pre-sale, that was very helpful for me. And it was really just for the pre-sale time. I don't track that now. I track and manage my orders and my inventory and how much I need to order and restock and things like that a separate way. So I really hope that this video was helpful. I pray I answered your questions, because this is a recurring question that I kept getting, and so I wanted to make sure I made a video on this. If you have any questions, if you feel like something was confusing, please let me know in the comment section below. If you have any other video ideas or suggestions, let me know and I will do my best to honor it. And don't forget to like and subscribe, and until next time, bye.